Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to JT's Mixtape. This is episode number 77. And if you guys are enjoying these podcasts, please give me a 5-star review on either Apple or Spotify. And if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you.
Come closer, my child.
What's going on, y'all? This podcast is brought to you by Modern Roots Life. Modern Roots Life is a Christian-owned and operated company, and it's bringing real health back to its roots. They offer powerful, all-natural health supplements such as beef liver, cod liver oil, beef tallow, magnesium, and mineral-rich salts, all sourced the way God intended. Clean, simple, and from the earth. So whether you're looking to boost your energy, restore mineral balance, or just fuel your family with real nourishment, Modern Roots Life has got you covered. Guys, in this community, we're trying to get healthy in our mind, in our body, and our spirit. So don't neglect your health. If you want more information, check out modernrootslife.com and check the link in my description. You know, people often ask me how they can support me. Well, I think it's pretty cool if you can support me by supporting the people who support me, and you get something in return. And being healthy is a pretty good return. Well, family, once again, we're back. I'm your host, JT, and I've got the whole crew again. We've got AA Ron, Tune Thy Heart. What's going on, Aaron?
What's up, y'all? Happy to be here.
And we've got Brian, the Demon Eraser. How's it going, Brian?
Terrific. Ready to please the people. Or piss them off, one or the other.
Have you been getting more positive reviews in the comments lately, Brian? Have you been scanning
I think
the
I
comments?
have. I think people are like, okay, he's all right now, it seems like. But, you know, whatever.
Brian's grown. He's grown on the audience after about 100 podcasts together with me and Brian. Probably at this point, we're probably approaching about 140, 150 podcasts together, I'm thinking.
Dude, it's been a long time. It's been a while.
I know, 77 episodes of JT's Mixtape. It's a lot. 77, crazy. A good godly number, kind of.
Mm-hmm. Good number to spread the truth.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things to talk about, but again, I'm kind of struggling to know where to go. The really interesting news, of course, as we record this, it's only been a couple days that this ancient astronaut theorist wound up dead, and under some suspicious circumstances. The man was named David Wilcock, and if you guys don't know exactly who he is, I'm sure you've probably seen him. If you look at any kind of stuff that we're talking about, he tends to pop up. But he's more of I want to say that David Wilcock was more of a new agey, and he was pushing that alien psyop pretty hard. But anyways, check this out.
Another UFO researcher apparently committed yesterday. This would be number 12 of the UFO researchers and scientists that have either died or gone missing. Name is David Wilcock. He's 53. He's a famous UFO researcher and New York Times bestselling author. And 2 days ago, one day before he decided to do a live on why Trump posted himself as Christ, asking, has he lost his mind? Is he the Antichrist? And he also said this.
Every day that I have on earth is a gift and a blessing, and I'm very grateful for that because, frankly, people are disappearing. Scientists are going missing. Now they're saying they're going to investigate this. The president himself is saying they're going to look into this and see if anything's going on. It's a little bit scary.
And he's also tweeted this, I plan on living, not at all, just concerned about what happens when you prove God is real. David didn't just talk about aliens, he talked about the cabal, Illuminati, and Satan. Mainstream media is saying that they're still not sure if he's dead yet, saying that the family has not yet confirmed this. But apparently people in our government do have this information confirmed. Something very weird is going on, and to me it's pretty obvious these guys are getting whacked, and the question is why? As always, I want to hear what you think about all of this down below.
That's concerning.
Very concerning. You know, the last post he did, he actually talked about he said read the Book of Enoch. He commented on what's her name's
Paulina Luna,
yeah.
congressman.
Yeah, he brought that up and commented on it, basically telling people to read the Book of Enoch. And yeah, it's pretty he's definitely he's gone for sure. And that's a really sad thing because he was definitely talking about God a lot towards the end.
Yeah, he made a huge shift. He was into the New Age stuff for quite some time. I mean, just a couple of years ago. But it seemed that he was gravitating towards the truth towards the end, and you could even see a shift in his countenance. You really could. Like, you could see he was a lot more somber towards the end. Like the last year or so, a lot more serious. And it's so hard to know, exactly what's going on or why these things are happening. I mean, to me, it just seems like it could be that some of these people were on the payroll to push an agenda specifically. But I think one of the reasons why so many people were willing to push the alien agenda is because they also truly believed it. I think they truly believed it up until a certain point. And then I think that there was a shift at some point. I think to me, the timing of all of this happening, it seems that like these people discovered the truth and they were about to share the truth, and they couldn't risk that happening. They couldn't risk so many prominent names coming out and sharing what they learned, especially because it went exactly against what they were told to push.
What was that one program that there was this group, some kind of federal organization, and they were communicating with aliens? Do you remember that? And then
A-tip?
no, it wasn't that. It was something. It's been many years since this happened, and then eventually they started to realize that these were not aliens and they were in fact demonic entities. And then they believed something about like that they needed to go back under like the old covenant law. Do you remember what that project was called?
I don't think I heard of it. What do you mean they had to go back under the old covenant law? Who did?
They identified that the beings they were communicating with were nefarious and demonic. And then I'm not sure how they made the shift that they had to go back basically under like the Levitical law or something.
The demons convinced them that they did.
Maybe. Yeah. Well, it sounds like they did because obviously we don't need to do that. We have authority in Christ. So they did.
Yeah, they want their blood.
So that it was like a psyop inside of a psyop, is that they did learn that they were actually demonic, but then it was telling him the shift was to something that would not save them.
Wow. No, I never heard about that.
Yeah, I'll try to look up the name here in a second, but yeah, you kind of wonder because he was hard pushing the false agenda about disclosure and the idea that all the ancient megaliths were built by aliens and things
and
like
then
that.
Suddenly he starts reading the Book.
I mean,
of
that's
Enoch.
how that's how I knew him, because I talk about this all the time, that before I ever got into conspiracies, I just enjoyed watching that show, as dumb as it might have been. But I remembered him from that show because he was one of the most prominent people that they showed often. He was like a regularly reoccurring guest on Ancient Aliens. So you do kind of wonder if he's pushing a deceptive angle of a true kind of phenomenon, that there was beings from the heavens, not from outer space. And there's a twist on it. And then so maybe as he was kind of waking up and he got more new agey, but then if he was starting to go away to the truth, maybe it's a situation you made agreements and you consented to a lot of things. And again, it's like the Faustian bargain. He made a theoretical deal with these devils. And then when he realized that he wanted out, that's why you see like the way he was showing himself. He looked weary. He looked like he was in a bad mental state.
That's what I think. And I think it's a lot more simple than people realize, right? It would be totally different for one of us to go and make that deal knowing what we know and knowing what we know about Jesus. Like, it would be a complete betrayal. But for some of these people, they don't believe in Jesus when they make these deals. It's easy for them to make the deal because it's like, oh, I already believe that. You're going to pay me to keep pushing, to keep talking about what I talk about? Sure, of course. And then as they start to gravitate towards the truth and the Holy Spirit starts to move in their life and they start to see the truth, they start to understand the gravity of what they've gotten themselves into. And that actually would make sense given how his countenance shifted. I mean, listen, I think something very similar happened with Charlie Kirk personally. I think it was something similar, as things started to shift and he started to see what the reality was, he felt a certain obligation to share the truth about that reality, and that's what got him in trouble. But it's easy to push whatever agenda they're being told to push when that's what they believe.
So, it did, David did mention Anna Paulina Luna. Who is Anna Paulina Luna?
She's a congresswoman from Florida.
Well, she just mentioned apparently a few days ago to read the Book of Enoch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She mentioned it on X. Mm-hmm.
So this is David's last live stream, which he does not look in the slightest. He looks totally fine, healthy, and normal. Ready? Let's just play him mentioning it.
Anna Paulina Luna's again telling us to look at she's a congressional representative, look at the Book of Enoch. It has a solar flash in there. I showed you guys that before. I mean, it is just such a wild time to be alive.
Well, he's not alive now, which is unfortunate. But yeah, dude, it is a wild thing to look into. So he was looking into the solar flash, solar flares, and the Book of Enoch. Bro, you were looking into something. He was looking into something, and the government didn't want whatever he was looking into to be being talked about, apparently.
And for somebody that went so hard on
the
aliens and ancients and alien civilizations and different types of aliens and spacecraft and all of that kind of stuff,
he's talking about what we talk about.
Correct. To make a shift like that, like that's not a small thing.
And just so you guys know, Anna Paulina Luna, if you want to know about the Book of Enoch and you're just now stumbling across this page, we've got a movie. It's called Ancient Angels, ancientangels.com. Go watch the movie, and it explains everything about the Book of Enoch, specifically, so you have a contextual understanding in relation to the Bible. It's a pretty good documentary, I'd say.
Wow, my mind is blown. It is not just David Wilcock that has just passed away, but other experts and colleagues in his field have also passed away. And they were all associated or featured in the show Ancient Aliens on the History Channel. And now it's caused plasma physicist John Brandenburger. He posted this AI image and this message that says, "Dear friends, I have been told I am in danger as an anti-gravity and Mars investigator. But I tell you now that all humanity is now in danger. But so are the cover-up helpers. I urge a blanket amnesty for all in the cover-up who end it. Take this amnesty while you still can." Now, this is considered a conspiracy theory. It is what Dr. John Brandenburger is alleging. But we also have a scientist who was working on anti-gravity. Anti-gravity, isn't that what Amy Eskridge, one of the scientists who allegedly took her own life, was working on? You remember Amy, she's one of the scientists who have mysteriously disappeared or passed away. Yes, she was working on anti-gravity. And if you watch the videos I've posted of her, she was claiming that she was about to allegedly expose it to the public via her Institute of Exotic Science in Huntsville. So if Dr. John Brandenburger has also been researching anti-gravity and Mars, I think it's legitimate for him to feel scared. So the rabbit hole took me down to this. All these men are linked to the show Ancient Aliens on the History Channel, and they have all allegedly passed away. And you guys know that I have to say allegedly, right? And I have to say that this could all be a conspiracy theory. It is all alleged. A ton of other professionals and colleagues from the show, including Nick Pope and Eric Von Daniken.
I never really heard about the Book of Enoch until I watched Ancient Aliens. So like David, him talking about that now and promoting the Book of Enoch is not something probably that it was a new thing for him to say. But I think that's the dangerous part about it. And it does get kind of sticky when you think about like the Tim Alberinos who have the same kind of view about extraterrestrials. And then they talk about the Book of Enoch like it's talking about a story about aliens when that's not what the text says. Like you're inserting aliens into the text. Now, and I've even said this, that you can say that angels are technically not from this Terra, they're not from this terrain, so they could be considered extraterrestrial. They're aliens because they're not from here. But again, that's again, you can say a lot of things about it. I've said the same thing. You could say that if some alien life form lived inside the Earth, that they could be considered aliens because they're not from here.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
octopus are like aliens because they live at the bottom of the sea, so they're aliens to us. But that does not mean Martians. That does not mean space aliens. It just means they don't live where we do. And when they come here, they're alien to us.
So what do you guys think is the common denominator between these 12 people? Because they all, not all of them had the same agenda.
Well, you know what? Save that thought, because I'll play this video because it was referenced by that first video we showed that you have people connected with space organizations, UFOologists and all this kind of stuff, and people working on maybe advanced tech and things like that.
Carl Gromar, pictured here, was an astrophysicist at Caltech. He worked on a NASA-supported space telescope project and infrared systems. Now, he was shot at his home just 2 months ago. Frank Maywald. He was the senior scientist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab, focused on advanced satellite systems, and he died nearly 2 years ago, but his cause of death has never been made public. Monica Reza, also reportedly connected to NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab project. She went missing last summer while hiking in California. There's William McCaslin. He's a former head of Air Force Research Lab and oversaw advanced space and surveillance programs. He's been missing since February. And reports say he once oversaw funding connected to a project that also included Monica Reza. Melissa Casais. She has been missing since last summer. She worked at Los Alamos National Lab. Anthony Chavez, also connected to Los Alamos, an engineer, he disappeared during a walk. No signs, no answers. You remember Nuno Loureiro? He was the MIT researcher focused on nuclear fusion and was shot in his Massachusetts home last December.
How do people not look at these situations where somebody was shot and just immediately go, yeah, so there's a conspiracy? Like, how did they look at that dude's face talking in Wilcox and like literally see his last video talking and happily smiling and sharing information and then say, yep, he's himself. Yep.
Because they don't want to believe that.
Bro,
Cognitive dissonance. They don't, there's a lot of things, and I've said this, since the beginning. I didn't really become like quote unquote a truther or a conspiracy theorist until much later in my life. And it wasn't because I rejected the information. It was because I didn't even want to hear it. So I had somebody like my brother trying to tell me about some of this stuff. And it was like, well, why does this matter? Like, why do I need to know this? Because what you're really saying is, this is scary and this is bumming me out if this is true. So I would rather not know. And that's the truth of the matter. And that's why I say you always go back to the movie The Prestige, is that when the magic is happening, the audience is fooled because they don't want to know how it's done. They want to see magic. They want to be tricked. So I think that's where it comes from, is that, yeah, this is scary. This is scary to think that there is some kind of conspiracy to take these people out, and for what reason?
Well, what's
because
troubling about...
then you get down to like the bottom of the things, like there's this hidden hand that is pulling strings here, and to what end? Those kind of questions are scary.
And what's troubling about the David Wilcock situation is that, dude, he is so far removed from what those other people were doing. He wasn't working on jet propulsion. He wasn't working on he was someone similar to us in the space, talking about his theories and talking about, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it might be just the way the internet is and social media is. Is it really fair to connect him to that video right there with those astrophysicists and engineers and people that are actually creating things? Because
he's
as far as I know,
people.
David Wilcock talked about aliens and he talked about a lot of, he talked a lot about conspiracy stuff like we do, but he wasn't somebody who was going to create anti-gravity tech or something like that. Not as far as I know.
I mean, it could be as simple as this. Anybody that deviates off of what they've told them that they need to stay focused on is going to get the axe. I mean, it could be that simple. Like, they could have like an absolute, because we're at a tipping point with all of that stuff, right? Like, allegedly, we're going to be finding out about all of these things at any point in time. Allegedly, disclosure's coming. When does that movie Disclosure Day come out?
I think it comes out in June. I think it's June 18th or something like that.
So, like, you know what I mean? Like, we're at a precipice of new information coming out, and I think at this point, they're doing whatever they can to keep it all under wraps because they don't want anybody changing public opinion until they're ready to do that. And they're not going to allow anybody that's got, because David Wilcock, I mean, I don't know what his followings looked like on all of his platforms, but I would imagine they were massive. Like,
But yeah. Well, again, he was I mean, I guess I didn't even know all the things about him being like a New York Times best-selling author and all that stuff. I mean, but again, he's like famous for this kind of stuff. I mean, again, he was on a very popular show, as dumb as it might have been, Ancient Aliens. And so I'm sure that he's been doing this for a long time. So yeah, the real question would be like, yeah, why now? Like, why take him out now? But hey, check it out. I got another video about the missing scientists or engineers.
We got to talk about these scientists. Now, another scientist has been confirmed dead, which makes this the 11th scientist. One of them being Amy Eskridge. She was just 34 years old. Both of her parents worked for NASA. Mind you, before her death, she was openly researching what she described as anti-gravity technology. Technology that, if real, could completely change energy in transportation. She even claimed in an interview that similar breakthroughs have been discovered multiple times, and each time they were shut down. And it gets even weirder because she said she was warned multiple times, apparently by agencies and officials who told her to stop her research. And that is her claim on record. And to this day, there is very little public available information about any investigation. And she said something that hits pretty different now. If you stick your neck out in public, at least someone notices. But if you stick your neck out in private, they'll bury you. So yeah, 11 scientists and no real explanations. Now, I don't know about you, but I just find it interesting how Trump is talking about declassifying alien files while all this is happening. Now, I'm not saying I have all the answers or anything for sure, but this is definitely strange.
Yeah.
Anti-gravity tech. Brian, you were already talking about that the past couple weeks over here.
But yeah, dude, I think we definitely have it already. And I think that's, and she actually died. She was a while ago. I think it was like a year ago, actually. That girl was.
Do you think she got bad information that she was because she was saying she was the 11th?
Yeah, no, she got bad information. That girl was like a year ago. And she actually says in an interview, she actually calls out some people in one of her last interview before she gets she called out in the interview, said a bunch of people were like bad people, I guess you could say. And she said it in her last interview. She was on a podcast with somebody else, and she was talking about things related to anti-gravity, but then she just started naming scientists that she said were basically like evil, and then she showed up dead. So, you know, I don't know if that's related, but it could be. And like I said, anti-gravity stuff, I think exists. I think it's already out there. That technology exists. I don't think we went to the moon. I think that's the biggest bullcrap. And if people come out and say, oh yeah, we can create anti-gravity, that's a little bit conflicting because then it devalidates the moon mission. And I think these scientists may be onto something related to anti-gravity, which is also probably why they go missing.
Well, I wonder, especially when she kind of framed it, anti-gravity that could change the future of transportation and energy. Because I think the floating stuff is less important than if this could be some kind of a window into an alternative energy. But maybe it's not a new thing. Maybe what if they're learning some of the old things? What if it's a reverse engineering of the old world tech that would free us from this petroleum system? Because if you think about it, like if they had a new energy system that was free and renewable, that didn't involve petroleum and oil, like you wouldn't have to deal with all the crap that's going on in the Middle East. Like we wouldn't be talking about the Strait of Hormuz, right? It wouldn't matter.
Yeah. I've got the perfect segue for this. This is what you're talking about right here.
So check out this video where a man attaches a copper wire and flies a drone up to about 115 meters and shows off the ether in action.
All right, I'm gonna stop at 115 and hold steady.
All right. It didn't blow up yet. Oh, by the way, meet the aerial film crew. I just thought this was a cool shot. Oh, yeah, I'm getting shocked right now. This time I just used the electroscope as a quick voltage check. Woo! Now that's a few thousand volts right there. All right, let's see if there's enough current to make this Franklin bell work. Oh, dude! Freaking working, buddy! Yeah. It's a really cool process. The aerial wire places a positive charge on this can, which then influences the foil ball to deliver electrons from the grounded can, which is directly connected to Earth. The clouds finally opened up, so I connected up the corona motor. Like before, one side was connected to ground, while the other was attached to the aerial wire. And after just a few seconds, hey, she's spinning! This is just remarkable. It never really spun that fast, but I just sat and enjoyed the miracle. I mean, I quite literally was siphoning energy straight from the atmosphere. This motor was operating off of several kilovolts, which you could actually hear if you stopped the motor and brought your finger near the aerial wire.
So one cable in the ground and the other copper cable in the air, and they were getting energy.
I'm telling you, that makes perfect sense with the antiquitech on these old buildings, the copper domes, all the antennas, all the things, and knowing that even the stones had, in some cases, like the columns, had iron and copper in them that could ground it. And yeah, I think that I don't know. I think that makes perfect sense that we know that there's electricity in the air, and if you could harness that, well, then you could power who knows what.
Everything.
The sky's the limit, right? Is that phrase, like the sky's
Literally,
the limit?
yeah.
Like you could power almost anything with it. Because yeah, that seems like there would be something that if they could tap into. Again, and this is what we always say about how, like, why would they lie about our past if there was this free energy? Because free energy doesn't make anybody any money.
Yeah, it can't be metered.
No, it can't be monetized. And that's what this new system is. It's all about soaking all us plebes of every cent we've got. Yeah. And you can continue to jack up the prices, but if it was free, that would most certainly get somebody dead if they were trying to reveal this kind of stuff.
So one of the things I've seen a handful of videos, people talking about this, and generally speaking, and I have no idea. I'm just going off of what I've seen. But generally speaking, they try to bribe people first. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen those videos, but generally speaking, the way that they do it is they try to bribe people to not talk about these things, to not share them, to go a different direction. When that doesn't work, they threaten. And when the threats don't work, that's when they take care of people. They don't generally just off someone. They generally give them the chance to stop talking about that stuff or stop sharing it. So I think that's kind of the one. And like that girl said, the one that Brian said passed a year ago, I mean, she straight up said in her videos, and they progressively changed, but towards the end, she talked specifically about the fact that she had been warned. They had come out and they had warned her, and they had said stuff to her. Whereas some of the other public figures, they're not going to tell the public that they got threatened, right? Like they got threatened in private, and it's like, don't go out there and say it again. Don't go out there and do it again.
Yeah, it's like that line in Narcos. The very first episode of Narcos is Pablo Escobar is hijacking a truck, and he gives the truck driver two options: silver or lead. Basically, I'll pay you. I can pay you and you can be mine. Or if you say no, I'm going to shoot you. So those are your two options. And so typically, what option would most people take? Most people take the silver. But I think that's the dangerous part about that is that once you take the silver, you're going to get the lead if you stop taking the silver.
Yeah, and I think it. Well,
you know what I'm saying? Like again, that's the Faustian bargain. Is like you made a deal with this person, and this person already let it be known like you're dealing with a dangerous person.
For sure.
And so like getting out. And so like the thing is, that's what you always see in these kind of every movie that's about like the mafia or drug dealers. like the audience is like, oh my gosh, just get out now. Like, why don't they stop? Because like, you know, that it's either going to end in
The window to
handcuffs
get out was a
or
long time ago.
or in a coffin.
Right.
But what was the one movie? There's a really good movie, gangster movie, a British gangster movie called The Layer Cake. You ever seen that?
Mm-mm.
That's a real good movie. Yeah, Daniel Craig is playing like some coke dealer, and he's a smart one. So that was his plan, that he was going to put $1 million in his bank account, and then he was going to disappear, and then he was going to go do something else. And then there's a line in there from like the guy he works for, and he's like, you know why you guys can't quit? Because you make too much money for people like me. So it's like, that's the thing. It's like they bought you.
Yeah.
You know, they bought you now. And so like, they're not letting you walk away, because if they let anybody walk away, it sends a message to everybody that we could just leave. So that's how a lot of these secret societies operate, by obviously access, things, and also through fear. You're controlled by fear and monetary enrichment.
Yeah. And if none of that works, then they start threatening family.
Right. Yeah. If you don't care about your own life, well, then you might care about somebody's life. And that's frightening. Okay. Let's, you guys want to watch a palate cleanser? You guys want to watch something funny?
Yeah, why not? I'm always down
I've
to
got
laugh.
something also dark in the
Okay,
same
well,
vein.
let's cleanse the palate first, and we'll get back.
You guys want to cleanse the palate? I've got something dark. If you guys want to go that direction, dirty that palate up before we cleanse it.
Pack the dishwasher and then unpack the dishwasher and cook dinner and put the washing on. And you know what? I can't continue to live like this.
Hey, relax. It's gonna be all right. I'll just show you. I've been doing this since you moved in. See this basket thing? I don't know how it happens, if it's the house or what, but any dirty clothes, the next day, they're just clean, folded, and in a perfect pile on your bed.
You're not serious.
I couldn't believe it at first either. That's why I didn't tell you. I didn't want to jinx it.
You are insane.
Try it, you'll see.
I can't do this.
No, wait. There's other things too. Anything you leave on this coffee table just vanishes overnight. Sometimes I'll see how far I can push this thing and I'll just leave shit everywhere. And then sure enough, the next day, it's all gone. It's just vanished. It's magic. She wouldn't have left me. She must have fallen onto the magic coffee table and just vanished.
Are you insane?
He's not insane. I've got the same coffee table.
Every married person can relate to that. That's what I thought too.
Yeah, when you're in your 20s.
I don't even put them in a basket. They're just left on the floor, and somehow they end up folded in my drawer.
That's hilarious.
My whole floor's magic.
That's really funny. Before we go the dark route that Brian wants to go, I've got one more kind of funny palate cleanser here. It's funny in a conspiratorial way.
The book I read is called 1984. It's about a guy who thinks the government is lying to him. Spoiler, he's right. There are cameras everywhere. People vanish.
Who are they? Reading Rainbow.
Yeah, spoilers. He's right.
Oh, man.
No, it is frightening. I mean, it's crazy to think about like a book of 1984 written by George Orwell. Yeah, like he wrote this book with obviously not knowing all the surveillance tech they've got now. And this total dystopian future. And it's like, it's a playbook. The real interesting part about it is that a lot of people had viewed it at the time like this was like fascism. He was kind of talking about like the rise of, the H-man in Germany. He wrote that before like the Cold War and all that stuff too. So like you could either say it's more like fascism or you could say it's like communism, but he wrote all that stuff well before that. And so now we've got this kind of soft tyranny where we're all aware of it, but it's not really acknowledged by our government that it's like that, but increasingly it's becoming more like that. Did you see that video? And I don't have the video, but there was this woman in Florida who was using WhatsApp, and she made a joke about Netanyahu, like trying to get her out of like some kind of assignment or something. And she said, "Oh, hey, Bibi, can you drop a few bonbons over here for us?"
Going to jail.
They're talking about charging her with like a felony for making a joke on a WhatsApp like group thread.
Yeah. And then did you see the clip of that same judge like pardoning a criminal who's like a career criminal that she knew? And she was like, did you go to whatever high school? And then he was like, oh my gosh. And he's like known for like armed robbery and like all these like terrible things that he's done. Right. And then she just like pardons all of this, like the terrible stuff like that he had done because she knew him and like was like, that was it. And you're like, this woman just pardoned a total horrible career criminal because she went to school with him and then sends this girl for making a joke in a chat thread to prison.
We have so many examples that make you want to throw up, that these people who should be in jail end up committing horrendous crimes and they're on the street just when they should be in jail. You kind of wonder if that's not, again, chaos by design, then chaos begats order, and the order is their surveillance state.
But then they're framing innocent people.
Yeah. And killing them.
To make it look like they did the things that they're actually doing.
Every accusation is an admission. So they typically accuse people of doing what they actually do. This kind of goes back to what we were talking about a lot last week about the AI stuff. Is that TikTok has got a new feature. Have you guys heard about this?
No, but I'm just about done with TikTok, honestly.
Yeah.
I keep going back and forth on whether I'm just going to delete my account and get off there.
Well, this one you should definitely think about.
Are y'all seeing this right now? TikTok wants us, this is how freaked out I am. TikTok wants to use our likenesses to cast us in AI videos. There are so many things wrong with this. First and foremost, that they're trying to replace creators with fake AI versions of them. Is anybody actually opting into this? Ever since the sale to Oracle, TikTok has been a mess. I think we've all experienced that, especially as creators, but this is next level dystopian. If you opt into this, they can just use your face, make a fake AI version of you, and just make content with you in it without you being in it. I need to know what y'all think about this because, like, am I missing something? Is this actually good for creators or consumers or anybody? Or is this just like a way for like content creators to be obsolete because they're just going to create fake? Everything is going to be fake forever.
Dude.
Okay, so we're all deleting our accounts, right?
Bro, that makes me want to delete it for sure.
No, I'm not. I was already on the fence, dude. I was already on the fence.
Are you freaking kidding me? They're taking our likeness and making videos of us now. Like,
I think he's saying that they could, but this might be a different feature. But I saw a lot of people talking about that there's this new feature called like AI remix, and like if you don't, like you have to go into like your privacy settings when you're uploading a video. You click on like the little 3 dots, and it does say something about like AI remix. And so if you give people the ability to AI remix, yeah, it sounds like they can basically use your video and change it and somebody else can use it.
But here's the way they're gonna do it. Right now they're saying you can opt into it. But what they're gonna eventually do is they're gonna eventually put it in a terms and service to where you're agreeing to let them do it just by staying on the app. And everyone's they're not going to read it. They're just going to hit okay because they want to get to their notifications and they want to, see how many likes that they got and they want to continue using it. And they're just going to hit the agree button.
I mean, people have made jokes about that when you get the Apple terms of service and nobody reads it. And then they've done parodies and skits about like what you actually agreed to.
Right.
Because the truth is, yeah, it's too long. It's like all the legalese, like when you ever get a contract, it's very similar to when Congress passes a bill and it's this thick and it's 10,000 pages, and even the Congress people acknowledge, well, obviously we couldn't read it. It's too long to read. But it's like that's the whole point, is to be able to slip some fine print in there, and then you agree to something and you're like, well, it was called the Support Puppies Act, so I thought it was good and I just agreed to it, and you find out, yeah, it's got allocations of bombs and missiles and troops to Israel in there. Oh, I didn't realize that was in there. But yeah, I think absolutely that's a real thing. But this thing, especially going back to the TikTok thing, it sort of reminds me of what they've been talking about with like celebrities and their likenesses being monetized or being sold, like, basically forever. Kind of like when, Star Wars did those really cringy, like CGI, Princess Leia's after she passed, or like, kind of sometimes when they do like the age effect, they make somebody young, but they made those prequels and they had like Grand Moff Tarkin, kind of the old the old bad guy who was actually in charge of Darth Vader. He was like the commander of the Death Star, and they brought him back for, was it Rogue One?
Yeah.
And so it's like the idea that when these celebrities basically have to either agree to it or not agree to it, because at some point they could just start putting them in movies forever. And maybe, it's kind of like a situation where like these record deals are such bad deals for these bands most of the time. And these record companies own the future music that they make, which seems insane. But that would be like, we own your likeness, so we can get you to sell anything we want to, or we can put you in any kind of movie, we can put you in any kind of compromising position, and this is what you've agreed to. But this sounds more sneaky because those people got good lawyers and we don't. So they'd be like, well, you agreed to this when you signed up for TikTok. Because maybe it'll be mandatory. Like you won't even, that'll just be part of like downloading the app. Like you agree to that.
100%. That's where it's going. And so, listen, I think it's time for us to delete TikTok. Personally, I think it's time for us to get off of it completely. I mean, I wish there was a way. Sorry, everybody watching.
I don't want to fully throw TikTok under the bus because I find so many videos from TikTok.
I'm never gonna post a video on there probably again. That's for sure. Now, like I won't update to their
but just
terms of
existing
service.
on there, you're gonna have to accept their terms of services. But back to what you were saying about
log in,
about contracts and stuff like that, or about bands. So one of the things that they'll do with bands is, dude, they will sign a band to like a 5-album contract, and so these people, they're not free until they record 5 albums with the label. And what they'll do is they will intentionally
not approve their songs.
Well, what they'll do is they'll let them record everything and then they just shelf it all. Intentionally don't even release it. They essentially just end their career completely. They're just like, nope, we're just gonna shelf you. We're not gonna do anything with it. But
how is that legal at all?
Just how they do it.
You sign a contract, man. Everyone's so eager to get a record deal. Everyone's so eager. It's like, oh, so Sony Records came to me. Oh, Atlantic Records came to me. And it's like they think that it's a big deal because they got a record deal, but it's like, dude, if they do, if you don't know what you're doing with your publishing, like that's not a good thing. Like that's not a good thing. And yeah, they're going to get you exposure, but like you're not going to make anything on the back end. And those 360 deals that they do, you have to be on tour constantly. And they don't just get a percentage of your album sales and the royalties and the publishing. They get a percentage of everything. The concerts, the merchandise sales, like absolutely everything. So but we were talking earlier also about this kind of ties in. Like there are people, if you've ever wondered, like Mace, you guys remember Mace? There are people that
he was as big as anybody for like a hot minute, right? He was because he had the album and he was featured on Biggie's album and then he came out with his own.
Yeah, and so there are people that step into the arena, don't realize exactly what they're getting into, and then they step back out before it gets too hot and heavy because they're like, no, this isn't what I signed up for. I want nothing to do with this. Like I'm backing out. So there is a window for people if they decide if they understand what they're getting into before they accept too much money. Right before they take too much money.
They were talking about him on the P. Diddy documentary that Netflix dropped, and how did P. Diddy was just totally hosing over everybody who did, like a guy like Mace, like he should have, of course, based on how much money he was making, like Puffy was making off him, he was not treating him right at all. And so that was one of the reasons he just got out of there.
Well, speaking of fooling you, I've got a video I can share. It's kind of interesting.
Okay.
Please fool us.
Check this out. Look at this. Then this one I thought was quite entertaining, to say the least.
You guys remember when Trump ordered DoorDash to the Oval Office the other day? And remember this old lady? Great. Now do you remember this old lady? The lady that spoke out about the big beautiful bill and how much it would benefit her as an American. How stupid do they think we are? I mean, the answer is yes. But genuinely, and also to be her. Like, what the f do you have to do to become the administration's psyop dog? What the f did she see? What did she see them do? What, like, they have her by the fucking neck, bro. What the f is this woman doing their chores for?
Too many F words, but like when you see this, like, bro, that's the same woman.
Yeah, that's the same lady.
DoorDash grandma, and you're like, and this is the same woman that spoke out about the beautiful bill helping her. Like, bro, this is the same woman. It's so clearly obvious.
Like, I don't even understand what the psyop is. You know, you get some paid actor to play the woman who's going to promote the bill that's going to enrich all the cronies of our government. That makes sense. What's the point of Trump getting DoorDash to the White House, getting McDonald's?
And she wore a shirt that says DoorDash Granny. Like, she's literally trying to be like, are you kidding me? Like, come on, nobody that works for DoorDash is like, I'm going to make me a custom shirt. Well, first off, you're wearing a shirt with the DoorDash company's logo and you're saying DoorDash let Granny. You're actually in violation of their legal stuff. So they'll actually could fire you for wearing the DoorDash t-shirt like that.
How
and then
come?
putting your own text on there. That's you created the shirt.
They altered it to say
DoorDash. That's not DoorDash. That they didn't want that. So you altered it.
It's not just that.
You can get in a lot of trouble for that. And then first off, so like secondarily, it's a joke, and it's like you're trying to promote DoorDashing to people, and like, dude, it's such a psyop, and it's such a joke.
Well, I guess
your DoorDash will buzz you in. Go ahead and go right to the back door at the Oval Office.
They want you to relate to Trump. They're doing it to make you relate to Trump, so that you feel like, oh, he's just like you guys.
Or this is crony capitalism. Trump is buddies with the execs at DoorDash, and this is.
They would have given her a better shirt.
I mean, it's not free
executives.
publicity, but it's like somebody paid. You know, I forgot who did that joke that was basically saying what our politicians should do is like what NASCAR drivers do.
Yeah.
You know, like a NASCAR driver has like his jumpsuit and then he has his car and they've got all the sponsors or all stickers on all the things. And so who actually sponsors and who pays for our Congress people, they should be forced to wear all their sponsors
on their suit jackets. They just got patches all over them with all the. That would actually be epic. Dude.
They would, you know what they would look like? They would look like if you watched Office Space. Remember when she worked at was it Flingers or something? What was the place that she?
I don't
remember. They went
scene.
out to lunch, and it was Jennifer Aniston's character. She needed to wear the flare.
Yeah.
It's kind of like there was like
the flare. Yes. I remember the flare.
Yeah, I was saying, Brian, they got to wear all the buttons of all the people who have bought them.
Yeah, that would be great.
So then Trump would have a DoorDash jacket on.
McDonald's.
You know, you've seen some of this stuff with like the
OpenAI.
insider trading stuff with
well, you
Trump
wouldn't look so
administration.
cool. You wouldn't look so cool. And then like if they all had to wear buttons, like a 1-inch button for everybody, if they've taken money, you have to wear a 1-inch button. Imagine wearing a suit just covered in these 1-inch buttons all over your suit. Like people would
They'd be looking like
immediately
Liberace.
Yeah, exactly. We would just immediately be like, no, he's bought and paid for, that's for sure. Look at all the money. Look at all the buttons
make
he's
them
got.
face tattoos. They should have to get face tattoos.
Did you see? Yeah, did you see all the stuff that's been going on with like the insider trading with like the Trump administration?
The short on oil, but right before the Strait of Hormuz opened back up.
You know, I'm not that smart when it comes to Wall Street. I understand a little bit. Explain to me why you can short something like it's Las Vegas. It's almost like you're playing craps and you're betting on the don't pass line. Why is being able to short something, how is that investing in anything? It's like literally like it's gambling. It's like I'm betting against a stock. Who does that benefit? Where does the money come from?
No one.
Do
It
that?
benefits you only. It's gambling.
Well, that's
in
what
a
I'm saying. But like,
negative way.
why is that legal to short things like that?
It shouldn't be. That's ridiculous.
It's like you're betting
Because-
against a stock, but I mean, it's like, what if you took that out and you only invested in the stocks you thought would do well?
Well, you're betting against
Like, wouldn't
it,
that
so
be
you're
like the
giving-
system? Isn't that like the system like it's supposed to be?
Well, you're giving them money, right? For the company to use, knowing that they're gonna fail, and then only have to give you back a little bit. They'll have to give back a lot more money because they gave you
It's as simple as capitalizing on everyone's vices, but you got to remember that the house always comes out on top.
So what ends up happening, like, and here's an example of this would be that oil has been really expensive because of the conflict in Iran. And so with the Strait of Hormuz being closed, oil prices are way high. And so somebody buys a bunch of short stocks on oil. And then the next day, Trump makes an announcement, or the same day, Trump makes an announcement how the strait's going to be open. And then the price of oil just drops like a rock, and somebody makes like $700 million. It's crazy. Have you actually looked at with like somebody like Jared Kushner and some of these people like that are connected with Trump, how much money they've made over the past couple of years? Like they're billionaires now.
It's insane.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
Billionaires.
It's insane.
Well, that Trump meme coin, did you hear about that?
I remember when he was promoting that, but obviously the meme coins in itself should basically be illegal, I think, because again, it's just all this rug pull nonsense where they pump up these things that have no inherent value. It's only so somebody can eventually pull the rug out from after everybody buys it. You have certain people who have all this kind of real stake in it, and they sell it as soon as everyone starts to buy, and they make a boatload, and everybody else just gets caught holding a bag.
There's just average everyday people online talking about how like they were made into like multimillionaires on that Trump meme coin the second it was released.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, like this is why like Hawk Tua is no longer a thing on the internet anymore, because she did the Hawk Tua coin or whatever.
She joined a rug pull team. Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, I guess it's kind of like a fool and his money are quickly separated. He bought the Hawk Tua coin, but I mean, it's still evil. It's still evil, even if people were foolish enough to invest in that. You know, here's a situation where I've got a video where it's I told you so. Brian's told you so on this one. Brian, you're going to enjoy this.
What if I told you that Pan's Labyrinth is just Peter Pan? Staring you right in the face. So Ophelia is Wendy, right? So like Wendy, Ophelia loves her mother, but she's afraid of growing up.
I don't want to grow up.
They're both young girls that are having to kind of play mother to their baby brothers. They're both lured into this magical realm by this mystical trickster. The villain, Captain Vidal, is Captain Hook, right? He's this ruthless uniformed captain obsessed with a ticking clock, trying to impose his rigid order on a wild world. And who is the captain hunting? This ragtag group of rebels, right? Out in the woods. They are the Lost Boys, hiding in the woods, using the terrain to fight this guerrilla war that, seems like it could go on forever. They actually, both of the movies feature this big hollowed out tree that Wendy has to actually crawl into. There are tiny little winged fairies that are their loyal guides. Even a little bit of jealousy maybe there when the fairy whispers secrets into Pan's ear. And so, I mean, the underworld is Neverland. The faun is Peter. And they're both based on the same Greek deity. Pan, this chaotic trickster whose main goal is to lure a young girl from her human family. When you look at it that way, the ending changes. At the end, you get what she and what Pan wants. She never has to grow up.
So creepy, dude.
Disturbing.
It's disturbing,
So
but it is
creepy.
interesting. That I remember somebody told me to watch Pan's Labyrinth, and I think I had to cut it off because it was so
creepy.
grotesque and just evil. But I mean, it's interesting to think that when Peter Pan is presented the way he is in like a Disney cartoon, well, it doesn't seem as nefarious, but the message is the same thing. But when you see Pan presented as this totally demonic looking goat, evil humanoid thing, well, yeah, you're saying, hey, don't go with him. But if you're watching a Disney cartoon, you're saying, oh, Neverland sounds great. I mean, Tinkerbell's real pretty. Peter Pan's a good looking kid. This sounds fun. We're going to go hang out and we're going to have fun adventures. But Neverland is actually not some place that's across the world. It's actually the underworld.
Dude, it's diabolical how they've used cartoons to deliver these messages. Like, there's no other way to put it. It's straight up diabolical.
Yeah, it's just an obvious message too. It's just he's stealing kids out their window, under their parents' noses. They come out in their pajamas, and he's taking them someplace that their parents will never see them again. And they don't grow up, right? Because you see how that happens. The girl at the end, she ends up dead. So
at least in
technically he
Pan's
wasn't-
Labyrinth, they know that it's a goat man. At least they tell you.
Right. Right. At least they see it for what it is. Did you guys ever see, I think it was Tom and Jerry. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sure you guys have seen
with the Illuminati thing.
The clip,
Yeah.
dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
We played
And they're in Hollywood and they're like, oh, it's time to talk to our overlord or
Yeah.
our boss or whatever. And it's literally the devil in like
And
a
he was a
freaking
Jewish
portal.
guy.
Oh my gosh. I didn't,
Jewish-
I don't remember that.
Oh yeah.
He was a Jewish guy.
Oh yeah. He was definitely a Jewish guy wearing like Egyptian outfit.
That's
They
wild.
put these little
Well,
hats
it's funny
on.
because it's like that's why we always talk about this, that the idea of like what Satanism actually is versus what is presented or how it's presented with like Anton LaVey and the Church of Satan. Because you had Crowley had the Church of Set, right? So he was actually practicing some kind of a Egyptian type paganism, and that was actually satanic. And then so when you see like Tom and Jerry, they show the president of Hollywood or whatever, the king of Hollywood over, who's presented like the devil. He's some Jewish guy wearing some Egyptian outfit.
Hey, I got another segue to another video related to that, since we've mentioned the Jewish thing.
Goodness.
I gotta show you guys this one, and you just gotta listen to what he says.
Sorry. Okay, Baruch, Atah, Adonai, Eloheinu, Melech, Olam, Asher, Kedishanu, Mitzvot, Al, Mitzvah, Tefillin. Very nice. I'm getting a on the street in front of Mulberry Pizza here in Beverly Hills, on the street, getting a street bar mitzvah right here. It's happening. 2 rabbis on the street. Are you Rabbi Shmuley?
Not yet. Yet to be. Soon to be.
Working on the rabbi status. Got it. Yes. But I knew the actual Rabbi Shmuley, or know the rabbi.
Which one?
Rabbi
Shmuley.
You know Rabbi Shmuley who worked with Michael Jackson?
Oh, yeah.
Not a great reputation?
No.
Oh, he's all right? You made a face. All right, so what do we do now?
So, repeat after me. Ready? Shema. Yisrael. Adonai. Eloheinu. Adonai. Echad. Baruch. Shem. Kavod. Machoto. La'olam. Va'ed. Can you sound my prayers? Well, I'll just explain quickly what you did. Basically, you know the Shema prayer that we just said? You've heard of it before?
Yeah, of course.
So inside these, it's called a tefillin. It's parchment. It basically says in the Bible and the Torah that you should put them on your head and your heart to use your head and your heart to serve God.
Okay.
So it's facing your heart, and then it says the Shema prayer inside. So
I love it. Beautiful.
That's it.
Thank you for that. Awesome. Thanks,
And
guys.
now you're bar mitzvah.
That's super cool. I'm bar mitzvahed. Wow, look at that.
So, for those that don't know, this is Corey Feldman, right? Corey Feldman?
Yeah, Corey Feldman, yeah.
Who was reportedly molested, and terrible stuff happened to him by, I think, wasn't the other guy that did it to him Corey Haim or something?
No. Well, I mean,
that was one of them.
He was his buddy, and actually, I want to say that Corey Haim blamed Corey Feldman for some of the terrible things that happened to him.
Yeah, and so they were basically molested by multiple people, including what's that? The guy that has HIV, the dude that's like in Two Dads or whatever. Forget that guy. Forget that show where they're like two dads or something.
My Two Dads,
something like that. I forget. Anyway, so he's one of the people, I think. Anyways, so the he was molested by people, and a lot of the people that were molesting him happen to be so it's like, it's almost kind of ironic that he's like now tries to stand up to be an advocate for the voices, the unspoken, and here he is being bar mitzvahed and making this video on the street.
In front of a pizza place.
In front of a pizza place. Isn't that fascinating?
Corey Feldman has obviously been totally messed up over the years. Whatever happened to him obviously was horrible. But it's super sad because if you think about it, like, as a kid of the 80s, Corey Feldman was like the guy. He was like the kid that everybody loved then because he was so funny. And all the movies that he was in the 80s, he was one of the best characters they had. You think about what, like, the Lost Boys, because kind of funny we were talking about it. He was in the Lost Boys. He was one of the Frog Brothers. It's kind of a weird name, like the frogs that come out of the demon's mouths. But him and his bro owned a comic book shop, or they ran one, and they knew how to kill the vampires in Santa Cruz, California. And then, of course, he's in The Goonies. He's Mouth in The Goonies. He's obviously the funniest part. Well, he's one of the funniest parts of that movie.
Yeah.
And then, after that, he got super weird trying to emulate Michael Jackson. That was totally bizarre. And if you've ever seen some of the funniest TikToks I've seen is Corey Feldman performing on stage.
Trying to be
You've
cool.
seen some of those, Aaron, him singing?
I have. I can't see any of those videos without my heart breaking for him, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
it's funny, but it's like, it's sad. It's like sad what happened to him.
it's just heartbreaking, man. These kids are thrown to the wolves. Like, they're thrown to the wolves. And somewhere along the line, there's a parent that knows exactly what they're getting these kids into, you know? And it's like someone's benefiting from that. I don't know. Did you guys see? It kind of reminds me, like, there was an interview where Justin Bieber was being interviewed and they were asking him about Billie Eilish.
Yeah, and he was really upset about it.
He started crying, dude.
Yeah.
Because he was talking about how much he cared about her, and it's like he knew what was coming down the pike. Like, he knew what the plans were, and this was before, of course, a lot of the demonic stuff that she was involved in came out with her
But
music.
yeah, she
and her
did a
videos and
complete
stuff.
180 as far as like how she was presented into like what we know of her today. She seemed like a person who's done it with not, at least the way I've seen. I mean, again, we don't know what happens when the cameras are not on, but she seems like she's embraced what was done to her or whatever happened.
Like it for sure.
Like, she made a deal. Like, it seemed. Again,
all of her
she was
songs
too
are, like,
young
so
to make a deal like
satanic.
that. What's that?
All of her songs are so satanic. It's like literally she's
But definitely now.
singing
But
to
I mean, they
Lucifer
weren't when
and
she
just-
first
They're
started.
dark.
Yeah.
They're dark. Do you guys? There's even concert footage. You guys see that concert footage where she's bending over backwards,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
in a way that like human bodies can't
Sticks
bend.
her tongue
It's
out.
so wild.
Yeah, that's
Dude.
totally like a satanic, like, almost. It's shown in a lot of movies where like people are demonically possessed and they
Contorting.
arch their backs.
Well, I've
and
seen it
arch
in real
backwards.
life. I've seen it in real life. They do that. And it's a weird thing. Like, people will, like, when the demonic spirit is in them, they don't want to look at the person praying. They don't want to look at the person, and but their body like fights, so their head will start to twist unnaturally, and their body will bend backwards because they don't want to look at you
Anything
when
they
you have the
can to
Holy
get
Spirit
away
in
from
you.
it.
Yeah, you have the
Yeah.
Holy Spirit in you, and the demon's like partially controlling their body, and it's trying to run away, and so they do this, like, they get weird body contortions when you're casting demons out, bro. It's wild. So yeah, it's definitely an unusual. It's definitely unusual. But I think it's funny that he mentions Rabbi Shmuley. It goes in the middle
Yeah,
of
that's
that.
weird.
And he goes,
Did he
I know
mention
the
that Rabbi Shmuley had some connection to Michael Jackson?
Yeah, Rabbi Shmuley was friends with Michael Jackson supposedly before he got murdered. And he was the same Rabbi Shmuley, the one that owns a sex toy company with his daughter. That same Shmuley is who he's talking about. I think it's funny that he goes, oh, yeah, I know the Rabbi Shmuley. And he goes, oh, guy's giving me a weird face. He's like, maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe that's a bad thing to mention. Yeah, it is a bad thing to mention, Corey. Yeah, it's a really bad thing to mention.
To be friends with that degenerate.
Yeah, bro. He's
Okay,
like
since
one
we're
of the
talking about the
people
little
that.
hats, I do have one video, and probably some of this stuff is going to have to go to the uncensored version. But I just thought this was an interesting old cartoon, and we love old cartoons. Check this out.
40 is the bid so far. Park your car where you are. Hitch your wagon to a star. I'll bid 20. 20 is bid. Going. Going. Gone.
I got them the whole world time got.
Gimme.
Oh, the money, huh?
The cash.
Here, you got a few.
Thank you.
So what is here, what? I'll pull gravity out tonight and see what happens.
Is that real? That's got to be an AI thing.
That was real, dude.
That's got to be like an AI thing. There's no way. That's so crazy.
I'll pull gravity out of the world and see what happens?
Yeah, that was weird, huh?
What does that even mean?
Oh, man, so
I don't know.
weird.
I'm just wondering about, like, so in the Corey Feldman video, you have the black cube, which we all
Saturn.
I don't know that everybody knows, but the black cube is associated with Saturn. So Saturn worship, that's where you think about what we're told is the Star of David, but what the Bible alludes to that star being is the Star of Remphan, and the Star of Remphan is Saturn. So then you see this old cartoon presented this auction between all the other planets, and they're going to buy the Earth. And it just so happens that Saturn appears to be a Jewish person, all the way down to the very obvious meme of like rubbing the hands
Dude.
together and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Do we have any light fluffy stuff to watch now? Do we have any like cat videos or dog videos?
I got one.
I think I do have another fun. I got some funny ones today.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a good one. This is a good palate cleanser after that.
So the past tense of sneeze would be
sneezed,
which means the past tense of freeze would be
freezed.
No. Why would you think? It would be froze. You know, see how? It's because that's why. And if the past tense of match is matched, then the past tense of catch would be
catched.
No. It would be caught. You know, see how? It's because it's not catched. That's why. And if the past tense of make is made, then the past tense of take would be
tade.
No. What would you think? It would be took. You know, see how? Let's take a step back. So if read is the present tense, then the past tense of read would be
readed?
No. What would you think?
Raid or road?
No. What would you think?
Something other than R-E-A-D?
No. What would you think? The past tense of read would be read. You know, see how? It's because that's why.
I hate this class.
Is that the original dude that does those videos?
He does a lot of those. They're all. That one just popped up in my feed. I think the reason I liked it was read and read. Have you ever like been writing, typing something out, and you're like, I'm typing read again, but it's like almost like your mind is like, it's the same word.
Yes, dude, all the time. I've got so much respect for people that learn English that come from other places because, dude, there's no question it is the most difficult language to understand. Because of that, 10 meanings for the same spelling of a word? Well, to understand the context of them all, it's insane, dude.
Well, I mean, it's based on all like memorization because it's not like you figure out English because you have to just memorize the words because it does not make sense if the way he's presenting it is that
no, it doesn't.
That freeze should be freezed, but it's not. It's froze. So because that's why.
Because that's why. Because that's the way it is.
That's why. Why would you think that?
You don't see how
you do wonder though, and Brian is like the king of like the etymology talk about like what words sound like and what they actually mean. It does seem like this is intentional for it to be that confusing because it doesn't.
It's intentionally confusing.
So why do you think it is that confusing like that? Why would you use the same word like read and read and not spell it different?
To deceive you.
But it is really weird to think, like I said, you're typing it out or you're reading it, and it like you have to really know the language to understand that. In my head, I'm pronouncing it as read, even though it's the same exact word. There's obviously different words that have different meanings, but like this is the present and the past tense at the same time, pronounced differently. So you pronounce it And clearly red would be RED, would be like the color red. So why is the A in there?
The only thing that makes sense to me, and the conclusion that I've come to over the years, is that they want us speaking word curses over ourselves and other people without realizing what we're doing.
I agree. I'm in a similar boat. They want to curse you and have you speak things you don't understand, and confuse you deliberately. It's an angelic fallen language, English. So that's kind of the conclusion I've come to.
Okay, I've got something good now. Not too dark, but it's totally about that little season Meltology talk. I've seen this video floating around a lot, and this video is absolutely fascinating because it involves my probably favorite online my favorite place that I've never been that I want to visit is Asia Minor, Turkey, where you have some of the best evidence, where you have meltology, but you also have a lot of partial preservation. And this video is absolutely mind-blowing.
And look how they were all carved out at once. Now nature's just ripped them apart. Even at the very tippy top. Now that's over 100 feet high. So I am way, way up this canyon. See how thick the brush is? Like no one comes up here. And that's when I found the most mysterious place I've ever found. And I'm gonna attempt to climb up there. But I just put my pack down. There's a room here, a room there. And there is a beautiful, beautiful room. Whoa. That is gorgeous. Original paint. Holy crap. And it's so mysterious. Like, look at the flood layer. We are way, way up in this canyon. And you can tell the flood layer was right up to here, all the way along. But look at that. The original paint. Look how gorgeous that is. Like this is the most hidden ancient church in Turkey. And the sound resonance, if that's what you call it. Look at that, just like that other spot over there. They're key-shaped holes up there. Wow. Unreal. Most beautiful place yet.
Wasn't that symbol like a Crusades era symbol? Do you guys know what that symbol means? The one with
the X with the dots in it?
Yeah.
No, I don't know what that means. Do you know, Brian?
Interesting. It reminds me of, like, seeing that reminds me of, I mean, that's fascinating, dude. I can't imagine being on a hike and stumbling across something like that. That would be unbelievable. But it reminds me of, have you guys seen those videos? I think I sent one to you guys in the group message of like the little mini buildings and mini like villages people have found.
No.
Like as if like, Brian, you've seen those, right? Like the little like mini villages they've found in the public, like carved into rocks and stuff with like little living areas and like
you talking for little people?
It literally looks like miniature people lived in some of these little
talking
tiny
about the
like
You mean like the
dolmen.
Fraggles?
smaller than Fraggles, dude.
Remember Fraggle Rock?
Down to Fraggle Rock. Brian, you know what I'm talking about?
Like dolmen, are you talking about? They're carved into the
I'm
rock.
talking like tiny, tiny. Like they would have had to have been tiny little people living in that first video that you played. That is not going to be in this video. That first video at the very top, it reminded me of that because there's like little rooms and there's like staircases leading up to these things and they're not that big. But there's a bunch of those in the wild where it's like, I don't think people carved those because they were playing with dolls out in the wilderness. I don't know what to think about it. It
You're
looked
gonna have
like
to share
a
one of
very
those videos because I'd like to hear what you're talking about. But I got one other video that's similar to this. Actually, I befriended this person on TikTok, so that's why I'm kind of almost resistant to get off TikTok fully, because I found a potential guest on the podcast because this guy is doing some of the greatest like boots on the ground stuff, kind of living that Indiana Jones type life, showing some of this stuff. And so he is in the same place, Cappadocia, Turkey. And one thing before we go to that video, he was showing like a flood line, but I started to wonder, that might not have been water. What if that was sediment? What if that was like, where he was showing where
Well, it was. They dug it out. They dug it out.
Yeah, it was like these things were buried.
Yeah,
and
that's what a flood line
people
is.
dug it out.
It is dirt. It is dirt. That's what he meant by that.
Okay, so I didn't know if he meant like water flooded, but yeah,
No,
I think it's probably like, the entrance to that was buried, so you couldn't have got in. But also, isn't it crazy to think that, so does the mainstream want us to believe that those were natural rock formations, and then somebody decided to carve the insides of them out into these immaculate domed churches? Isn't that insane to think that like people would do that? Why would you ever want to do that? You have that kind of skill, you're going to leave the outside looking like that? If you have the skill to chisel the inside out like that, why wouldn't you just, I don't know, chisel out like they do in India, those crazy temples?
Well, they could have been partially completed when whatever happened.
Well, I mean, to me, I think the most obvious answer from our perspective is these were
Meltology.
totally buildings, and then they melted, and so like the outsides of them are deformed, but there's pockets of preservation of the inside of them. But not everywhere, because some of them are completely just, you probably can't get in them, but they were all once like a village or a city right there, and it got smoked. Yeah, but here, check this out. Here's another video of somebody checking out the insides of one of these places.
I just free solo climbed into a hidden chamber with a key-shaped door. I free solo climbed about 30 feet up here in a wild canyon with other secret doors, rooms. Like, this is crazy. I'm standing in a tomb that held 10 bodies. But if you want to see the full video, go to my YouTube, Mr. Mountain Beast, and you'll see this crazy, wild adventure. What the heck is over there? And that's another burial there. Just a wild place.
Yeah, are we really supposed to be led to believe that somebody climbed up there to carve that out?
Yeah, those are demon doors, and those are probably demons burying their own kind that died.
No, they're not demon. Why would you think that had anything to do with demons?
Bro, demons make the holes out of rock, bro. This is like either doors.
How can demons carve anything? They don't have bodies.
Physical demons, once upon a time, that had physical bodies, like Nephilim and satyrs and centaurs would carve stuff like that to hide their demonic buddies' bodies in case they wanted to re-inhabit them.
This looks like it's done around the same time as that Christian era stuff where there was a church
still
inside
demons around.
I don't think there was physical demons.
There were
in the
physical
time of
demons when Jesus showed up. He said, "Go unto all and preach this gospel to every creature." There was still physical demons that existed at that time. That's why he said.
What makes it a demon door?
See what?
What makes it a demon door?
Well, demon doors.
And I'm not being facetious.
Demon doors, they'll make doors out of solid rock. They'll cut into solid rock for no reason, and like they make their homes out of solid rock. So you'll see a lot of demon doors. They look just like archways.
You think those were just normal mountains with holes carved into them?
I don't know.
So you
what
don't think that those were melted buildings?
They could have been melted, but that's a tomb, so it's like that seems like demon door to me. Like maybe he just was bringing up his bodies that he eats. I don't know, whatever demon eats people and carries them up that mountain.
You seem very sure of that, but that doesn't seem like how could you come to that conclusion with?
No, I'm saying it could be. I'm not sure. I'm just saying it definitely seems like
you were like that's a demon door. Oh, that was definitely a physical demon created that, but it was like it just looks like all the other stuff you see in Cappadocia, where you see like pockets of preservation in a place that looks like it absolutely just got the wrath of God just melted these places.
Could be that too.
Or it could be, and
Could be
this is what
both.
I think in a lot of cases, especially in Cappadocia, was that it was a city, it got melted, and then later people came in and carved things out. You know, if there was some kind of an opening, they made it bigger and they made it more accessible. But no way that you see that a door on the top of something or like a window, and there's no way to get up there. Like, what do you think? People like?
Well,
did
that's
they
what I'm saying.
just put
Demons,
ladders up there just to
demons can get
like,
up there.
But I mean, like, but why is it just like randomly up there?
Demon wants to hide the bodies from the humans to take them. Wants to eat his prey in peace. I don't know.
I guess it could be possible. Here's a video that could maybe give credence to Brian's theory about demons carving in rock, because this video is pretty weird. Check this out.
I mean, it would make sense. Like, you can still find clay in the wild. Like, I remember in school when the teacher would come in art class, the teacher would come in with a giant like block of clay. They told us like how they would literally go out into the desert and dig like X amount of feet into the ground and then just take these giant chunks of clay directly out of the ground. So it would make sense at some point in time that could have been clay that got hardened by heat at some point in time.
Well, you know what? I want to play a video from. I made a reel from a clip when I had Matt from Cultivate Elevate on the podcast. And I thought his theory was interesting about this because it related to Brian and I's favorite book, besides the Bible, is American Antiquities and Discoveries in the West. Because I read a really interesting an account from that book, and I mentioned to him, and he had a really interesting theory about this. Check this out.
So when you get into radioactivity, you get into petrified. So you get the connection. So petrified forests, lots of radioactivity. And basically, there's these petrified forests up here in northern Arizona, and they say that the stones went through some sort of like alchemical process to change into another material.
That's interesting. I was reading this book, and it was talking about there was these footprints in this mountain, like on the top of a mountain. It was like literally just a solid footprint, and it was like somebody was walking along with an animal. And so in this book, it was like theorizing that this mountain was more like a clay-like substance back when this happened, because how else do you make a footprint in solid stone?
It almost is like some sort of event occurred, and then it transferred and made one material transfer into another material. Mm-hmm. Because like even in Jordan, you know, they have buildings in the mountains that are like perfectly ridiculous, etched and like right in the mountain. So then you sit there and think, what event took place which transmuted one material into another? And same with on that mountain. If that footstep and those footsteps, it used to be a different substance and now it's changed into a different substance. And that's where radioactivity comes into, right? Like uranium and things. So you're transmuting something. So not only did they douse the land, find the water, find the materials, transfer the materials, do all this. Now they're taking one material and then potentially turning it into another material. Or there was an event, maybe some sort of static energy event, which completely just, you know, all the places at the same time, and then they all transmuted into stone.
So how about that theory is that these things were, like what we're seeing was like that could have been clay, and then something happened and it turned to stone. Because like how else do you really, because really how else do you explain that? Because that's what I was saying in the book. It was mentioning that there was a man who was walking with an animal and there were footprints on the top of solid rock. Like how did you imprint into solid rock unless it was softer? And that's what the book actually said, that it might have been like clay before it solidified.
Yeah, I mean, like that's what kilns do, right? In pottery.
Mm-hmm.
Like you shape it, you put it in, it's soft, and then it heats up, which is I don't. Someone's gonna have to write in the comments what the degrees are, but I know it's an insane temperature that it has to get in order to harden those things. So, like, no matter how you slice it, there appears to be a significant amount of evidence to support insane temperatures and insane amounts of burning over the course of like X amount of the earth, right? Like, isn't it, what is it, a third of the earth is desert now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, correct.
The earth will be burned.
Right. So, I mean, like, I don't know. I don't feel like that's a reach.
No, I think it makes sense. I mean, as you started off in the video talking about the petrified trees, which we talked about on one of these podcasts, it just doesn't seem like a natural thing for wood to just turn into stone. Like, because how does that really happen? Have we seen a petrified forest created in our lifetime? So because it doesn't seem like forests would naturally do that, because otherwise these things would be common, but they're not. So how does wood get turned into crystallized stone with all those colors?
I don't know, but he said that it's radioactive, so I gotta
it's kind of like
a Geiger counter out for it.
Well, I mean, I'm saying like that because if you think about it, if something organic and like a tree could turn into hard rock, well, we should maybe consider that lots of things could turn into solid stone, and that's why there's weird rock formations like that look like somebody had literally taken their hands and just wiped their hand into it. It's like I said, almost the exact same thing as saying you see wet concrete and then somebody puts their handprint on it and signs their name.
Well, I've got a video of a guy who probably put his hand in concrete.
Dude,
this dude's like, look, and look at this forehead he's got.
Yeah, that's a 5 head right there,
bro. It's Nephilim for sure, but it's like leftover Nephilim genetics. Look at the size of his feet, dude. And these guys, they're being funny. They have a channel and they're like funny, and they do this stuff all the time where they like just joke and he acts like the village giant, which he actually kind of is.
Well, I mean, he is a giant. Of course, I can't help but look at that skull and think, you know, when they found like whatever was like the Dragon Man skull.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
In China. And then so moronic scientists say, oh, well, this was obviously a pre-human race of humanoids, and they all had skulls like this. So how many skulls did you find?
One.
Yeah. You found one. So maybe it was somebody like that guy. Like, because you think that guy's skull looks like most
probably not
people today? Probably looks pretty weird.
We also know, though, that some of these tribes have literally intentionally contorted their bodies and changed the shape of their bones. Like, literally. I mean, we see that in, like, ancient Chinese culture where they wrap their feet and make their feet like these little tiny... Have you guys seen that?
Yeah, but that dude ain't wrapped. That dude's...
No. But I'm just saying, like, I think a lot of those, like, old skulls that they found, like, it could be that, like, they were doing something similar to that. Because you see that in some different tribes even now.
Yeah, like the neck
they
stretching
wrap, like,
thing.
Yeah. They wrap stuff around their necks, and some of them even wrap stuff around their heads. And who even knows? My bigger question is, what was that dude doing that was all oil slicked up with oranges on his eyes?
I don't know.
What was he waiting for, dude?
I don't know, but they're funny. They just do like ridiculous stuff and act like little like tribes people in the forest. But
he sounded like Andre the Giant.
He did. He had a very deep voice.
I mean, Andre the Giant again, like
he sounded just like him.
He is so big, and imagine what Andre the Giant skull looks like.
Yeah, for reals.
Because his head was gigantic. Like Andre the Giant, what was he, about like 7'3" or 4 or something like that? So there's taller people than Andre the Giant, but like his head and his hands were monstrous. Like, especially if you ever seen him, like when they got like the craziest stories
can?
about the craziest drinking stories from the other wrestlers about Andre the Giant. And you see that one picture where he's like sitting at a bar and he's holding
a soda can, and it's like this tiny.
He's holding a beer can, and it looks like when you know, like those you can get those like 6-ounce cans or something like that at the store.
It looks like this. It's like tiny.
It's like
to his
nothing.
hand.
It's like it literally his whole hand can go around it. So this guy drinking a case of beer is like nothing. I think they said he did like one of these Summer Slams or something event like that, and he drank like 6 bottles of wine and like a case of beer or something like that before he went out there and wrestled.
Wow.
He was probably smelling pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, this is just leftover Nephilim genetics that pops up every now and then. So it's not like that.
I mean,
dude's a Nephilim.
But like, what do you think about the idea of
human.
just gigantism? Like, some people just have a weird kind of a issue with their hormones where they just don't stop growing.
It's Nephilim leftover genetic sequencing. The dude's obviously human, and so he's cool. He's just like us.
That's an opinion, though. Let's be clear. That's just an opinion.
Just my opinion.
Just your opinion.
My opinion. It's leftover Nephilim.
But I mean, genetically, that a lot of times when somebody has this condition, they can stop that from happening. So it's not necessarily like a natural thing that like your bones and stuff continue to grow past like a certain age.
I don't know why some of this stuff happens. I mean, like my brothers, everyone in my family is 5'10", and I'm 6'3". Everyone in my family, like both of my brothers are
Nephilim,
like
bro.
Nephilim.
Leftover
Nephilim, bro.
It's gotta be
Nephilim
right. It's
thing.
the only answer.
What about like? I always think it's weird, like especially the stories of like a lot of these NBA guys. I think they said like David Robinson, he grew like a foot when he was in college. So David Robinson, I think, was like 7'1", but he was like low 6 foot range when he first got to college. When most people, by the time you're like in like a sophomore, maybe like a junior, like you're done, like you're as tall as you're going to be, like when you're like 16. But he grew from like 18 to 22. He grew almost a whole foot.
Well, some of these people come into money also, and they start taking the human growth hormone. Like that's a thing. Like some of these people start taking there are.
But most people don't get taller when they take human growth hormone. Like they're like you can get what was it famously Barry Bonds, like his hat size when he went up like 4 or 5 sizes on his hat.
Are you serious?
Why?
Yeah, because he was taking all kinds of stuff. But yeah, a lot of it was they think it was the HGH causes your bones to grow. Everything is bigger. That's why they say like a lot of the like bodybuilders today, that they take a lot of that stuff, and a lot of these guys have like, they don't look aesthetically as good as like the bodybuilders from the 80s who had like super like the vacuum waist and like super tiny waist. So these guys end up looking like they have like a kind of almost like they got abs, but they got like a bubble gut because they say that their organs have grown from the stuff they've taken.
And they don't have enough like body mass to keep them all in.
Well, yeah. So, well, I mean, it's like their waist is small, but it's expanded because their guts have gotten bigger. Like literally the guts, all the stuff inside your body grew too.
Okay, I got one more video. It's a sad one though.
It's a sad one.
It's a sad
Don't
one.
worry, I got some more funny ones if we want to.
Okay.
Afterwards.
The sad video is, did you see the Aztecs? I think it was the Aztec temple. They were a dude basically pulled out a gun and started sacrificing tourists on the temple steps. You're like
halfway up the pyramid, right?
Yeah. And so you're like, so something's going on. Some demon wanted blood on his temple steps again, apparently.
Well, I got an interesting video to go back to what Aaron was talking about like little people. Brian's really gonna enjoy this video here.
Scientists in Yunnan, China have discovered a species of mushroom known as Lanmoa asiatica that when consumed causes 90% of subjects to hallucinate thousands of little tiny guys. Not just any guys, clowns, fairies, elves, and gnomes. That's serious. Now initially they thought that the reason these hallucinations happen is because of cultural perceptions about the mushroom in China. In other words, the suggestibility of hallucinogenic experiences causes people who expect to see little guys to see those little guys. However, the same species of mushrooms, Lanmoa asiatica, has also been found in Papua New Guinea and the Philippines, and the same experiences have been noted despite no cross-contact between cultures. This heavily suggests that there's a chemical compound out there that causes you to see little guys, hundreds of little guys, and we have no idea what chemical it is or why it happens. Now, if we consider the world to be as we perceive it, that means that little fairies and gnomes and goblins and little guys are kind of real. So, yeah.
Somebody shared this with me. I've heard of this. Yes. And it's crazy because it's a mushroom that they take and then they see these little people. And those little people are demons. They're demons, bro. Yeah, Smurfs, straight up.
Remember in the Smurfs, remember where they lived?
Yeah, in the mushroom.
They lived in mushrooms.
Yeah, anytime someone's like, oh, there's this crazy thing that you can see, step 1, take drugs.
Yeah.
Like, anytime someone shares something like that, I think it's safe to say, like, yeah, you're seeing into a realm that we're not supposed to see in, and it's demonic.
Yeah, it's demons, bro.
There's two ways to see them. Either eat these magic mushrooms, or we're going to take this blood and we're going to pour it out, and we're going to make this pentagram on your floor, and then we're going to chant.
Right?
And then you'll see the little creatures are going to come out.
No, dude, the amount of times I still see these videos that they're like, code was seen in lasers and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, this is fascinating. And then it's like, step 1, take DMT. And I'm like, okay, you lost me, man, because there's a whole lot of experiments you could do with a whole lot of different drugs.
Bro, the DMT experiment where you can look at the laser and see the code, they all say it looks like...
That's what I'm talking about.
They say it looks like Hebrew. Isn't that funny? It's like,
interesting.
You're seeing some demonic writing. That's my opinion. I don't know.
Well, I wonder if... I guess, I don't know. It's... In some way, we just say this is a spiritual phenomenon, the end, without really trying to see more of it, because that idea of like, these are interdimensional beings. But like, what is like, but when you actually really try to think about like, what does interdimensional even mean? Or extra dimensional?
That's
like, it means they're there, but like, we can't perceive them because we live in a 3-dimensional space.
Correct.
So this is giving you eyes to see into a thing that's, it's already there, but you haven't been able to, you can't, like, our perception only knows 3 dimensions.
Dude, Ephesians 6:12, like, it's all right there. Like we can't see that stuff for a reason.
But
like,
check this out. So this was interesting though, but maybe just hold that thought about that through some kind of a ritual or through drugs, you can experience and you can see the same entities that people see. And it does not seem to be coincidental. It seems like this is a very common thing, especially when he's talking about fairies.
Yeah.
Again,
they're all
think
demons.
about like we showed
clowns,
fairies, clowns,
elves,
and jesters,
Elohims.
and gnomes. Yeah.
Yeah,
All
gnomes,
these
duendes,
things
they're
that-
all demons.
Yeah, we always say, like it's demons, bro. So obviously our buddy Paul Stobbs talks about the fact that, on DMT, people see jesters and clowns, and like the Nephilim are clown-like in the way that they're presented. So check out this video. So consider the extra dimensions or interdimensional things.
This is the best explanation I have ever heard of the dimensions and how they appear to one another.
Here is a representation of a 2-dimensional universe. And this little stick guy right here is a 2-dimensional being. Now to him, this object that we can clearly see is a circle would just look like a line because he can only see this one dimension of it. But because we're 3-dimensional beings, we can see that this is actually not a 1-dimensional line, but a 2-dimensional circle. So it would be a similar concept for a 4-dimensional being. So this stick figure is stuck in a 2-dimensional universe, but this 2-dimensional universe is actually contained inside of a 3-dimensional universe. And as we can see here, in this 3-dimensional universe, there is a sphere. Now, because the sphere isn't interacting with that 2-dimensional universe, to the stick figure, there is no sphere. However, if we take this 2-dimensional universe and we move it so that it interacts with the sphere, we can see, seemingly out of nowhere, a circle has just appeared. And as we take that circle and move it closer to the middle of this sphere, you can see to the stick figure, the sphere gets bigger as it reaches the middle, and then it gets smaller as the 2-dimensional universe passes through the sphere until it eventually pops out of existence. Now, of course, to us, we can see that this makes perfect sense. The shape isn't actually changing and morphing, it's just that the cross-section of the sphere that the stick figure can see is being passed through the sphere. So let's take this concept and move it up a dimension. So here we're in a 3-dimensional universe. So now what we're going to do is take a 4D hypersphere and pass it through this 3-dimensional universe. And as we can see, when we do that, we see a sphere that pops into existence, gets bigger as it gets closer to the middle of the hypersphere, smaller as it gets closer to the end, and then pops out of existence again. So going back to our 2D universe contained inside the 3D universe, we can see here that we have a rotating cube. So now if we take the 2D universe and move it through this rotating cube, we can see to the stick figure, it looks like this cube appears to morph and transform and just do all sorts of weird things. It like gains more sides and then loses them. All of the angles are changing, but the shape isn't actually changing shape. We can very clearly see here that just the cross section of the shape is being rapidly changed as the object is being rotated. So going back to 3D space, in this 3D space, even though you can't see it, there is a rotating 4D tesseract. And as we move the 3D universe through that tesseract, we can see that it once again appears to change shape and gain sides and do all of that weird stuff, but now in 3 dimensions. So the shapeshifting of this object is not caused by the object actually changing in any form, it's just simply caused by the object moving and rotating through the 3 spatial dimensions we're used to and the 4th dimension as well.
We can only see this much of the light spectrum. We can only hear this much of the hearing spectrum. The 4th dimension is time. We can only experience the present moment. We can have a sense of past and future, but we can only experience this. In the 4th dimension, you can see all of time at once. It all exists at once.
Yeah, so like the 4th dimension is like the tesseract. Do you guys have seen the tesseract?
I just saw it from what he was just showing.
So like there's a cube, like in the tesseract, there's like somebody made like a physical one. There's like a cube, and in that cube is a cube set within the cube, and then you can see infinite amounts of cubes. So like that's what like the demons see. That's what like the demonic realm, like they're looking into this cube and they're seeing all of these different things take place at the same time, and so we can't see them because they're outside of that space.
Well, they're
right?
they're around space and time, and maybe that's why we only see them out of the peripheral of your eyes every once in a while. And another thing, that when you take drugs, the reason why the drugs, like mushrooms specifically, will start to make you see like fractal glitches, you're actually looking into that dimensional space, and they become like this sort of, you see like fractal glitchy patterns. You're seeing into the spiritual realm to some degree, and the 4th dimension is time in a way. And I don't know if demons, they do have a sensibility of knowing things outside of time a little bit. It is something that I used to not think they were possible of knowing, but at this point I've started to realize they kind of do to some degree. Not like the Lord can, but they do tend to have a little bit of like some little thing that they know, which is pretty weird, which is like the fortune tellers, like there's even the Bible. She lost her ability to tell fortunes when Paul cast the demon out of her. So, they have they have some way of seeing a little bit, not to the extent that the Lord can, obviously, but there is some element of that.
Well, I think that they're incredible at predicting based on behaviors and patterns, right? Based on like behaviors and patterns and things people do, places people go. If you study what someone is all about to a certain extent, you can predict quite a bit about them.
But what if they
right?
can't predict? What if they can just see 4th dimensionally forward just a little bit, What if it's not?
Yeah,
really
what if it's
even...
like kind of like that 3D cube is it's moving and changing, but they can kind of see part of.
They don't know the future, but they can see which way you're going.
They can see part of the 4th dimension, but not all of it.
That's what,
it's like a 30-second buffer.
Yeah, it's like
that's
kind of how I
only could shift if you make a different decision.
Yeah,
only God can see the whole thing. Only God is aware of the things all of time at one time. But they maybe can see. They got windows of it. They're seeing part of the picture, and it's moving and changing. So you think about like that's why they always say like, what is it like? Yoda's saying like the future is always it's always moving and changing. Like so they can There's these different possibilities, but like they can't predict for sure.
I mean, the demon's name is Daemon. It means the ones that know, and so they do know stuff. And I've learned that I used to theoretically assume as much and be like, no, I know for sure that they can't see the future. But dude, I can tell you story after story where I was like, okay, that's pretty weird.
But I also think that they can know a little bit about the future because if they influence you in a certain way, that they know that this will manifest this future.
Yeah.
1,000,000%. Like they can okay, so like they can all 3 of us right now are on a path for today. right? We're on a path for today. We've made a certain amount of plans. We've had a certain amount of discussions. So if they can see everything and they have access to everything, they've got your, your digital text messages. They know your patterns. They know your drive home. They know, like, they can predict a lot of things to within a certain extent of all of that. But like, Brian, if you wanted to, you could literally take your shirt off right now and do the rest of this podcast shirtless. Did they predict that? I guarantee you they didn't see that coming. You see what I'm saying? No, but like, you see what I'm saying? Like, we can shift things at any point in time. Like, I don't know, every now and then I'm just like, oh, I'm not going to take this route. I'm going to go this route.
Well,
or I'm going to go this way. Or I'm going to
think of it this way. Think of it this way. Like, if you just were not consider what you're doing, your day would go about itself the way it is, and they maybe can see that. And
totally.
And do you see what I'm saying?
I could get with that.
And
I could get with that.
And here's the understanding that I've come to, because I've met demons and they knew that their time was up when they met me. And it was like funny that I was like, how, like, they were like, no, not now. It can't. Why is it
Bro,
now?
I want to hear more about your meetings with the Holy Spirit. I want to hear more about your meetings with the Holy Spirit.
Bro, all the time,
Let's hear those.
dude. All the time I meet with the Holy Spirit, bro.
Let's hear about those more.
I'm just telling you, dude. Like, I just had a meeting with the Holy Spirit not even like 2 days ago. It was awesome.
Well,
He gave me a dream, and it was so cool.
I
and it
want to
came
talk
true.
about
It was
this.
awesome.
Like, again, like, maybe these spirits influencing you to the future. Like, do you remember that one scene in The Matrix when he goes and meets the Oracle, and she tells him to not worry about the plate of cookies he knocks over? What does he knock over, like a vase or something?
Yeah. Don't worry about
And then
the plate.
she says, you know what'll really bake your noodle? Would you have done that if I didn't tell you to not worry about it? Because like, he's confused. So like, she is likely saying that I manifested you doing this because I said something to you
that's
that
prophecy.
caused this to happen.
That's like prophecy.
So I think
right
that
there.
that's certainly possible. Is that it's kind of like if I told you something was going to happen to you today and you believed me, well, then it's more likely to happen than if I never said anything. Because that is about our belief and our faith in something and the way that you go about your business. Because if you have this thought in the back of your mind and you believe it, well, it's more likely to come true. But I want to just think about that whole, again, the idea of, so there is these dimensions, and if the fourth dimension is time, and you take these hallucinogenic drugs, and I wonder if any of it has something to do is that a lot of times when people do take, especially I think when they say they take DMT and some of these drugs,
they lose a sense of time.
They lose their sense of time. Like, sometimes they say that they felt like they lived like an eternity in some place. It was like almost like being in infinity. Like, you kind of wonder if those interdimensional demons, is that where they really reside? They reside in a time that almost feels like eternity, because time is not really relevant to them, because they don't worry about days and nights, because they're not bound by that.
So
I mean, they're bound by time, because obviously one day their time's going to be up.
Yeah. Well, they
but
say
at the
that
same
Jesus
time, but
that.
they're kind of in this weird kind of limbo stage, and so you take these drugs, and you've joined them in this plane it's different than ours.
So Jesus says that when he goes to the demon, they say it is now our time, right? The demons say, like, now's not our time.
He's saying actually that it's not their time.
Yeah,
like
now's not our time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have a grasp or a sense of time. And so this is my faith, this is my perspective, and my belief is that when God created the spiritual realm, it was already outside of time. And then when God created earth realm and this reality, he created time specifically to govern this reality. So I think that when they're outside of earth realm, it to them looking at earth is like a blurry glass that they can't really fully comprehend. And when they come into this reality, they come into the sense of time, and then they're governed by time, but yet they're not time-based beings. So there's like a weird overlap that I think is happening with a lot of them. This is just my personal opinion, guys. And then, like, obviously, so like that's kind of what I've come to realize and come to perceive, is that there is some kind of, I think Earth needed time in order for us to not know, because right now we don't know. Like, knowledge in time are one and the same. Like, for us to not know, God invented time so that we could be unaware of things. Like, yesterday I didn't know. Now I know, right? So when we go, like, it's like knowledge, and in an infinity state realm, you know everything all at once. You won't learn anything when you're outside of time, because it's infinite. You'll know exactly everything the moment you know it, and then you can rewind time and fast forward time however you perceive it. So it's like their reality is in that out of time space. And so they think they have little fractal glimpses of Earth's time realm, but they can't fully perceive it. They don't know. Only God sees the full image of what's happening. At least that's my theory.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that I think that if our lifespan wasn't around 80 years, like if your lifespan was like, let's say you live 10,000 years, like your perception of a day might be different. Just that basic, just that you don't live and die in the same amount of period of time. So if these beings, they're outside of this, and maybe they don't perceive the world as we do either. So yeah, again, the day and night is not a big difference. Like imagine if you never slept. Like what would your life be like? Like how would you really start to perceive time? So it's not like they're not bound by time, but it's like
I think Brian and I both can speak to that about never sleeping.
Right, but I mean, that's the thing. Like if you don't have like that separation, like how do you perceive it? So these demonic beings that don't eat, they don't sleep, it's the evil that never sleeps. I don't know.
Plotting constantly.
It does seem like, yeah, they must be like almost like, because they're ghosts. They're like these shadows, and they're like flickering in and out of reality. And it does seem like, yeah, maybe they're kind of trapped in that, again, like kind of like a limbo space between the fourth dimension and here.
What
and
if
maybe
they're able to exist?
Again, psychedelics give people access to that.
What if demons are able to exist just like 5 seconds before and 5 seconds after, and they can like stay just a little bit before you and a little bit after you to perceive what's going on, but they're not allowed in this dimension where that's why you only see little flashes of them.
Again, it's like they're in the in-between. Like they're in somewhere in here, and it's like they're kind of like constantly, they want to be more here, but they can't. Like, like there's limits to what they are. So again, it makes sense that they weren't meant to be, so they don't go, so because if they fully were God's creation, well, they would just go down into the earth and they would be at rest until Judgment Day, or they would be alive. But they're neither really alive or dead. They're in the mixed space where, yeah, time is wonky. So yeah, maybe it makes sense that if you take drugs to get you out your brain, that you're in a time that you could be like,
yeah, you're in a time distortion space. So
you're partially your spirit and your mind is in that space for the period of the time you're high.
It's literally why he tells us to be sober minded, because like that space is not for us to deal with. We can call upon him and his angels to deal with that space, and we should. We have the authority to do that, and we should leave a lot of that stuff to that. That's the kind of information I'm in my personal experience. Everything I've learned about that space, I wish I hadn't. Like, you can learn too much about that stuff to where it will start screwing with your head, especially if you don't have a firm foundation in Christ. Because it is so hard to comprehend, it's so hard to grasp, but it's so real. Like it's unbelievably real. I honestly think it's exactly like Frodo when he puts the ring on.
It is like the shadow. It's like the shadow realm.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like you even think about like the idea of like a shadow. Isn't it interesting how like based on the time of day, like a shadow either grows or it shrinks away? It's like it's kind of like that, isn't it?
Yep.
Pretty interesting. I got one more video. This is a short one. This will make sense to you guys when I'm sharing this now.
What the heck is this? I had a family member who worked at the Prudential Center in Boston. This is the Museum of Science's live stream on the Boston Harbor. And I have no idea. You'll see it in a second. Gonna go off the building and bam. What is that? Just kind of flying around there. I zoomed in on it and put it in slow motion on the next part of the video. But the crazy part is the next day when he went back to try to replay it to show one of his coworkers, the Museum of Science had actually deleted that hour off of their live stream. So I don't think it was something that we were supposed to see. Is this extraterrestrial? Is this a government experience? This is, again, the Museum of Science in Boston's live cam. Tell me your thoughts.
The Harry Potter Dementors, bro.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's Dementors, bro.
It's like some kind of ritual had just taken place in there or something, and they were like leaving that place. That's crazy.
You know, it was interesting that it was shown. Do you see what the time was?
Yeah.
3:30 a.m. Well, it's not 3:30, but 3 a.m. is what's called the witching hour.
3 to 4 a.m. Yeah.
You guys ever had like these periods in your life where you wake up and you're like, I know it's 3 a.m. and you look over at the clock and it's exactly. I had a period of my life, probably when I was waking up a lot, or when I was like
start praying.
When I was actually waking up, like spiritually, I had a lot of those nights where I would wake up at 3 a.m. and you would be like, and then sometimes you didn't even want to look at the clock because you're like, it's going to be too weird if it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And
not today. Yeah, you just start praying.
But yeah, 3:30 that takes place. It seems a little interesting, and I want to say that the normies in the comments, they were saying those were birds. Those didn't look like like a flock of birds. Those didn't look like birds. They looked like they moved really fast.
That's wild. Yeah, those were not birds.
You don't think those are birds? What do you think, Brian? You think those were birds?
Whenever we see footage of stuff, I'm always like skeptical. Like at this point, like who knows if that's just like AI made up that thing. Because that is pretty weird. If that's genuine, it's pretty weird. But at the same time, I don't even know.
Have you guys seen those videos, though? Like, I know you guys are going to know what I'm talking about. Have you seen those videos where it looks like the kind of AI slop people have been putting out, but something in your gut says, dude, that's not AI. Like, I'm looking at a real like reptilian, or I'm looking at a real demon, or
that's the thing now, man. You can't you can't really tell the difference because, again, as we were talking about NASA last week, if the video is crappy, like the one we kind of just saw, it's not enough to really go off of. But if it looks too good, that's AI.
Totally. No, they muddied the waters on. Absolutely, they did it on purpose for that exact reason.
It's because too many of us really know, but coming out saying the truth, and they needed to silence us.
But the truth is, even that video there where, in all the movies, they got like, that some of these sorcerers or witches, they control flocks of birds or bats. You think about like in Batman and stuff like that. I mean, that's sort of like I kind of got that vibe where those look like it could have been like bats all flying like that together, like so close together. Bats kind of move like that. Where if they went, they could kind of just go and pivot and just turn the other way like that.
Bats or Batman.
Well, you remember that one scene? Remember that scene in Batman Begins? Remember when he goes into, was it Arkham Asylum, and he drops that transmitter and he falls down with all the bats?
Yeah.
That was pretty dope.
I just want to say to everybody as we're ending this all, remember, especially for those of you who are God-fearing, Holy Spirit-filled believers that believe in Jesus and have a relationship with Jesus, don't let any of that stuff intimidate you. Don't let any of that stuff scare you. Remember the authority that you have in Christ. Stand on that authority. Try to live a right life. Continue that sanctification process, and remember your authority. You have the authority to trample snakes and scorpions, and don't forget it.
Amen. That's a great way to end it. The light does not fear the darkness. The darkness fears the light. The light is stronger than the dark. Yeah, the darkness is weak compared to the light. So, on that note, I really appreciate you guys. And if you guys want to see these episodes early and uncensored and support this podcast, please consider supporting this podcast over on Patreon. Link in the description. Also, if you'd like a t-shirt, got the Jesus Said There'd Be Haters in. Check out the link in the description. Also, if you want to support this podcast and your health, check out the sponsor of this podcast, Modern Roots Life. And one more plug. We've got coaching. If you guys are looking to make social media content, Aaron and I are coaches over on the Echoes of Truth Network. We got a great crew of people there. And of course, we'd like to add you if you'd like to join. Anyways, guys, regardless if you can't support the podcast by any other way than just watching and listening, please consider liking, sharing, subscribing if you haven't already. We love you guys. See you next time.
JT's mixtape, now a show about history, faith, and truth, with the sound and the conversation we've never heard before. JT's mixtape, now there's a podcast that JT created mixtape for us.